In 1954, the Folland Gnat made its first flight. Its design concept was to discover if it was possible to build a small, lightweight fighter as a counter to the heavier and more complex fighters due to enter RAF service. Although its performance was impressive, the RAF was not interested. It did, however, show interest in a version developed as a two-seat trainer in 1956. As the Gnat, it became the RAF's jet trainer intended to follow the jet provost as part of the RAF's all-jet training program. But it's probably best known as the first mount of the Red Arrows aerobatics team formed in 1964. The Red Arrows were designated the official RAF display team to replace the squadron teams that had thrilled crowds at home and in Europe throughout the 50s and early 60s.
I couldn't believe when I first flew it that anybody could live at this speed, because having gone through training, you used to sit next to the instructor, and it was always a kind of comforting feeling to have him sitting next to you. And even on your own, you know, there was a seat there, but suddenly you were put in this thing which was rather like a missile, and all you could see was a tiny little cockpit and a great big long pitot tube sticking out the front, and it was just flying so fast that I thought, well, you know, I mean, I don't know. My brains were well out of the back of the aeroplane at the time, but it was a very stimulating. It's one of these flights, and there are not many flights that you ever remember specifically, but I distinctly remember going off across Anglesey in this thing, wondering if I'd ever manage to fly it. I think for me, the aircraft gave me a great ability, I think, to be able to think three-dimensionally, to think at a different speed to the jet provost, which was nice and slow, but I mean, to work at 360 or 420 knots was quite different. But also, perhaps very significantly, is fuel management, because the aircraft, when you took off in it, was short of fuel basically. And when on the Red Arrows aircraft with no slipper tanks on, you know, you were very short of fuel the whole time, and you really did manage your fuel very, very carefully indeed. But I think that as an all-round aircraft, you know, in terms of bringing you on to fly the frontline RAF aircraft as they were at the time, I mean, you could not really have had a better training aircraft, I don't believe.
The mid-1960s was a time of mounting uncertainty for the RAF.